And then someone's like, oh yeah, TikTok ads are the new thing, or Facebook ads, or Instagram ads. So you start running all this stuff, and it's like this jumbled up mix of influencer shout outs, ads, suppliers that aren't proven, a theme that might not be right. And so we could do all that very quickly. We could have speed, we could be fast, but if it's the wrong strategy and it's not conducive to where we want to get to eventually, if it's not focused, then that can be just as ineffective as having no strategy at all. So
have you ever wondered why some entrepreneurs seem to skyrocket their dropshipping profits almost overnight, whereas others stay stuck in a rut? Well, today, Lewis and I are going to be pulling back the curtain on one of the most sought after secrets in e-commerce, how to not only drive consistent profits for your business, but how to also do that as fast as you possibly can and faster than you ever thought possible. So, Lewis, are you ready and excited to dive into the world of speed and strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. This should be a great topic, James. Looking forward to this one. It's an essential topic and subject for us to cover. So yeah, looking forward to diving into everything that we've both learned over all our years of experience dropshipping.
Yeah, let's try and bring as much experience, much stories as we can alongside this, because it is important to think about not only the strategy that we've gone through on many episodes, but how to also do that fast. So Lewis, let's start with the basics. Why is it important to cover a topic where we talk about both strategy and speed?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always been a combination of both of these things, right? Because without the right strategy, it's all very well going fast, but where are you going fast to, right? You need that map, you need that guide of where you're actually going in the first place. So yeah, if I have the right strategy as well, that's great. But then if I don't do anything with it and I don't execute on it then with the right speed, then obviously that also leads us to going nowhere. So with the right strategy and the right speed, then every move can kind of become intentional, and it reduces the number of revisions and reworks that we have to do, because there's less trial and error, because you're not just saying, okay, I'm going to move fast, but I have no direction and no guide, and I'm just going to continue to fail and trial and error it through to my way to success. Of course, that's one approach that you can do. It might be quite difficult. You feel like, smacking your head against a brick wall for a long time, and it starts to get quite frustrating because you just keep failing. Whereas if you have a strategy that you can continue to move ahead with, I mean, I guess the best way to liken this to is imagine you're back at school, right? You're preparing for one of your exams. You've got like a biology or history exam coming up, and you're thinking, how do I prepare? You don't just think, okay, I've got 5 days to the exam. Let me just go and study history, and just like, let me just learn history and then I'll take the exam and that'll do it. Like that would be an example of moving fast with no strategy. Instead, you try and focus the mind, don't you? You say, okay, well, I'm not going to have to learn the whole subject. There must be a syllabus for this exam. So let me study the syllabus. Let me look at past exam papers. Let me kind of focus the mind in, and then I'll move quickly. So you've got the right strategy, the right speed of execution. You're not just randomly picking up books on history, being like, okay, let me just absorb as much as I can, and hopefully I'll pass. That's unlikely to succeed. So it's the same in business. It's speed and direction that will get you there, because speed without direction will often lead to burnout or eventually business failure, because you're just kind of spinning around in circles. And if we're just watching every piece of content out there that's related to e-commerce, and then we're building a store because someone on a YouTube video showed us how to build a cool store, and then a different YouTube video or podcast said, hey, use this app, it's really good. So we're like, okay, we'll add that app into our store. And I've fallen, foul to this as well. Like, it's easy to do. Then you see, oh, this new type of suppliers just launched, this new supplier network. Okay, let me try them. Maybe they're really good. And so you've got this kind of mishmash of like jumbled up information coming at you. And then someone says this new theme's really high converting. So you think, okay, I'll put that theme on my store as well. And then someone's like, oh yeah, TikTok ads are the new thing, or Facebook ads or Instagram ads. So you start running all this stuff, and it's like this jumbled up mix of influencer shout outs, ads, suppliers that aren't proven, a theme that might not be right. And so we could do all that very quickly. We could have speed, we could be fast, but if it's the wrong strategy and it's not conducive to where we want to get to eventually, if it's not focused, then that can be just as ineffective as having no strategy at all. So yeah, I think for me, it's always been about finding that balance, making sure that I know where I'm going, and also that I'm executing intentionally towards getting there, and that I'm not kind of sitting on my hands and just thinking like, okay, well, I've got the strategy and hope it comes together. You have to take the action to get there, right?
Yeah, and it is about balance. I know when I first started, I was probably tipped the balance towards the speed being more important than the strategy. And I was just so keen to get started. I was desperate to make money from an online source of any nature. And so I wasn't focused on picking the right strategy initially. I just wanted to work and do something, and the speed was my focus. But then that led me into different troubles, because if you just focus on speed, then you leave a lot of room for having to make mistakes and lots of trial and error before you make eventually the money that you want to make. And so in the long run, if you just prioritize speed, I believe it actually ends up taking longer, because you don't follow the right strategy initially. You have to make lots of mistakes before you focus on something that you do know will work. So Lewis, that's an example of one of the mistakes that I made when I first started my e-commerce journey. What would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen when other people start their own dropshipping journeys?
Yeah, one major pitfall that I've definitely fallen into time and time again when I was starting my journey, it was just not choosing the right products to sell, or the right niche group of products to sell. What this does is it causes secondary problems, which then disguise the fact that actually the primary problem was not choosing the right products to sell. So you end up with wasted marketing efforts and wasted ad spend, or you end up with customer service headaches. And you think, why are all these problems emerging? And the root cause of it, if you trace it back, is that we didn't just choose the right products to sign. We signed any old suppliers that we thought, oh, these suppliers would be amazing. And I've found out that just signing any old suppliers, sometimes it just doesn't cut it, because I've had stores before where I was running ads and I had a nicely designed store and thought it would be really high converting. The ads were great. Maybe I was starting to make sales, but they weren't profitable, or, maybe I'm not making sales at all. I'm getting lots of clicks and impressions and add to carts, but for some reason they're not converting. And I just start to think, well, what's going on here? Like, what is it? And it always comes back to this lesson that I've learned time and time again, and I try to warn our members of now, is that it's really difficult. And actually, I don't think you can force unpopular products on the market. The market will tell you what they want to buy. And if you do succeed in doing that, you'll likely then hit the secondary problems that come from it, i.e. bad reviews, lots of returns, lots of chargebacks. So it's like, you don't want to bait and switch and say, make this incredible ad for a product that's actually quite underwhelming. So if I'm ever in a position where that's happening and I'm seeing like the ads are running, but we're not making sales, it's always been because I didn't use a clear strategy to decide on which products or which niche to sell in originally. So I didn't validate the idea first using data. Maybe I fell into the trap of thinking, I'm passionate about this product, I'm going to sell it. I think I could be the one to change this. And I became blind to the data, which is a dangerous trap to fall into. So that's definitely one of them. Another big mistake that I've made personally many times, which is closely related to choosing the wrong products, is just choosing the wrong supplier. So you might have the right kind of niche, the right product, category that you've decided you want to focus on, and it meets all the right data criteria. There's like 9 different data criteria that I go through in my book. And so in the past, I've signed some suppliers and thought, that's it, I've hit the jackpot. I get off the phone with the supplier and think, that's it, this is going to triple our business. And so I'm ready to go. I'm like up late at night, excitedly uploading all of the new products that they've sent us through. And I'm thinking that, they're going to fly off the shelves metaphorically from our store, and I'm ready to go. And I set the ads live, and then it's like, okay, what's going on? Why is no one rushing to buy these? What's happening? Like, what's causing this to not sell? And yeah, maybe we get 1 or 2 sales per month from those brands coming through, but for some reason it just doesn't click. And it's because I assumed that brand would be really popular, but for some reason it's just not resonating with the market. And then I've had other situations where I've signed a brand and thought, I don't know about them. Like, yeah, I guess I'll add them to the store, but I'm not sure that they're going to be that popular. And then, it's like 6 sales per day and they're just flying off the shelves. And you think, wow, I didn't expect that. But I think, again, whenever I learn this lesson again, it just reminds me to try to take my own emotion out of the equation and just let the data guide me. If I allow these products to all be there and serve as ads to the market tells me what's popular. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever you want to buy from our store, we'll happily fulfill those orders, and our suppliers will happily, fulfill the orders. It doesn't really make a huge difference to us whether I thought one brand would sell or another. We let the marketing kind of guide us. So in the past, I've worked with dropshipping suppliers as well on the other side of the world. So things like AliExpress, where you find suppliers often in China. And then that causes a whole raft of secondary problems as well. You end up stuck with the long delivery times that I know you've experienced as well, and the poor quality products. But it also then leads to like tertiary problems as well, because not only are those issues, But then you've got the suppliers themselves who are the customers themselves who are unhappy, poor performing ad campaigns because they're not high converting, because they're not that in demand. Then you get refund requests coming through or disputes and chargebacks. And suddenly your dispute rate gets too high and your merchant processor gets shut down, or they start withholding funds from you. And so you've got a rolling reserve on your account and they're like holding back £20,000, so you can't then pay your supplier because you can't get that money until the items have been delivered, and all kinds of wasted money, wasted time, lots of admin. And it's just very tough to make it profitable from the start with ads. So that's definitely been one as well that I've experienced.
Yeah, we've had to learn these mistakes firsthand, a lot of them. I know that I ran off with just the idea of getting there as fast as possible. And it reminds me of, if you ever watched the London Marathon on TV or the Great North Run, you get somebody that's not an athlete, not a professional athlete, but they start at the front of the race and they decide, right, the first 500 meters, they're going to absolutely gun it. And they go in front of the athletes. And for the first 30 seconds of the race, they're leading the London Marathon. And you see, it's hilarious, great fun. But what I can liken that to is me starting a dropshipping business and thinking it's all about speed and let's go for it. And I didn't pace myself. I didn't set up with a strategy that was going to make me win for the long term. So in the case of the marathon runner, brilliant, you're ahead for the first 30 seconds, but you're never going to finish the marathon if you're going to try and keep up that pace. So instead, it's about having the right strategy and prioritizing getting that right. And then you'll actually end up finishing the marathon much quicker instead of having to sprint and then you end up walking the rest of the way. So yeah, some good lessons in there, Lewis, and thanks for sharing.